Up to this point, you have walked with me through the grand mythological lore that has anchored human faith for millennia. But now, expand your intellectual horizon. It is time to analyze these very anomalies through the lens of modern physics, advanced architecture, and quantum mechanics, unveiling a perspective never written in standard history books. For what we casually dismiss as a miracle is almost always the manifestation of a highly advanced ancient science that has been lost to time. Let's bring the investigative lens closer and unlock our first scientific file of the great Jagannath Puri miracles. Our first stop is the acoustic shadow of the Lion's Gate, which is called as acoustic isolation engineering. This starts with the Singhadwar. Imagine the scene. You are standing just outside the gate, and behind you, the colossal wave of the ocean are crashing with the roar of 1,000 thunderstorms. The decibel levels are so high that you cannot hear your own voice. But the exact millimeter your foot crosses that threshold, the chaos vanishes. No echo, no background, absolute compressed silence. How is something like that possible? When decoded through a modern sound engineering, this is a master class in acoustic wave cancellation and structural trapping. The entry pathway of the Singhadwar is not a straight line. It is engineered as a highly specific geometric curve and a constricted tunnel. The granite stones used here possess an incredibly high density and sound absorption coefficient. When the massive sound waves of the ocean hit this narrow, mathematically angled archway, they are deflected continuously against the stones. In modern acoustic science, this creates acoustic shadows through destructive wave interference, a phenomena where sound waves bouncing off precise angles collide with incoming waves, completely cancelling each other out. Outside, the ocean rages. Inside, ancient engineers used mathematics to imprison sound itself. Now let's move to the scientific deconstruction of the vortex of the sacred flag, referred as aerodynamic anomaly. The second file in the list of miracles from Jagannath Puri is the flag that flies against the wind. The fundamental laws of thermodynamics and fluid dynamics state that wind always moves from high pressure to low pressure zones, and any flexible material must follow that current. Yet, this flag openly defies this principle. To solve this riddle, aerodynamists studied the temple's 214-foot tall conical grid architecture, and what they found was absolutely stunning. Coastal areas are governed by diurnal wind cycles known as sea breezes and the land breezes. But the massive, smooth, conical shape of the temple alters this fluid flow. When the high-velocity ocean winds strike this colossal round spire, the air current splits dramatically around the structure. This rapid acceleration of air around a curved surface creates an invisible low-pressure vacuum pocket directly behind the peak of the temple. To fill this sudden void, the surrounding air currents are forced into a highly powerful, localized cyclone, a phenomena modern physics calls the vortex effect or aerodynamic turbulence. This localized vortex pushes the flag from behind, moving it forward against the macro wind direction. To a viewer on the ground, it looks like a supernatural defiance of nature. But in reality, the flag is perfectly executing a complex equation of fluid dynamics engineered by ancient architects. The next miracle in Jagannath Puri is the geometry of light, the shadowless architecture. This is the phenomena that has baffled architectural engineers for generations. The vanishing shadow, no matter the time of the day, whether under the scorching midday sun or during a late sunset, the shadow of this massive structure never touches the outer grounds. The law of optics states that when an opaque object blocks light, a shadow must be casted. How does a 214-foot mountain-size temple of stone hide in its own shadow? This is not magic. It is indeed the pinnacle of ancient Indian astronomical engineering, combined with a micro-stepped design. The main spire is not a flat, smooth cone. It is built using thousands of small, calculated horizontal steps and ridges held together by interlocking stone geometry. When sunlight hits these thousands of micro steps, the light rays do not reflect in a single direction. They undergo multi-angled scattering, creating a highly diffused light pattern. Furthermore, the mathematical ratio between the temple's height and the immense width of its raised foundation, the mandapam, is so precisely calibrated that when the sun angles toward the horizon, the resulting shadow becomes incredibly elongated, faint, and thinned out. It completely recalculates and collapses within the perimeter of the temple's own massive base. The shadow is casted, but the structure's own geometry swallows that shadow before it can even touch the public road outside. And now, the final miracle of Jagannath Puri, the Navakalevara, the quantum energy core. The final and the most gripping file of this scientific deconstruction is the Brahma Padartha. Why must the power grid of an entire Puri city be severed? Why must the priest be blindfolded? And why must his hands be insulated with silk? Is this merely ritualistic dogma, or are we looking at a profound quantum protocol? At this critical juncture, an extraordinary hypothesis emerges from theoretical physics. The segment of researchers suggests that the Brahma Padartha might be an ancient, highly advanced metamaterial or an incredibly active quantum radioactive core that has been continuously emitting highly energized, high-frequency electromagnetic frequencies for thousands of years. Neem and sandalwood are scientifically proven to be exceptional natural insulators. This thick wooden casing acts as a natural radiation shield, absorbing the intense energy emitted by the core and keeping the inner sanctum perfectly safe. However, after 12 years of continuous exposure to this intense high-frequency emission, the molecular structure of the wood begins to degrade and decay, much like the protective casing of a modern nuclear fuel rod or a high-capacity power cell over time. Therefore, transferring that core into a fresh, structurally sound wooden casing becomes an absolute engineering necessity. The extreme safety measures of this transition line up perfectly with modern hazardous energy protocols. If the city's power grid remains active, the strong alternating magnetic field generated by the modern electrical lines could dangerously interfere with the unknown, highly potent electromagnetic frequency of the core, posing a massive risk of a localized electromagnetic pulse or a severe power grid failure. Next, the mystery behind the blindfoldedness. The invisible high-frequency, ultraviolet or gamma-like emissions from the unshielded core could be so intense that direct exposure to the naked eye could instantaneously burn the photoreceptor cells of human retina, presenting a high risk of permanent blindness. And then comes the science behind the silk gloves. Silk is a highly effective, natural, dielectric material that prevents static discharge. It serves as a vital insulation layer, protecting the priest's nervous system from experiencing a massive static or bioelectric energy shock upon direct contact with the core. But then a profound question remains. If this center holds such immense power, why was it placed here? Advanced researchers of ancient Vedic sciences hypothesize that this energy matrix functions as a global cosmic stabilizer, just as the Earth's geomagnetic poles stabilize the planet's magnetosphere. The energy grid of Jagannath Puri is believed to act as a planetary anchor, balancing the tectonic and atmospheric frequencies of the Indian subcontinent. It explains why catastrophic cyclones and natural disasters coming from the ocean often lose their destructive velocity abruptly when approaching this specific zone. On a human scale, when devotees enter this localized electromagnetic field, the subtle frequencies interact with the neural pathways of the brain, down-regulating cortisol and stress levels, while shifting human consciousness into a highly elevated state. What ancient traditions define as a spiritual ritual reveals itself to be a highly sophisticated, advanced Vedic protocol designed for the structural preservation of the humanity. So, Shri Jagannath Puri is not merely some laws of physics and architectural anomalies. It is indeed the literal epicenter of a supreme cosmic consciousness, where all the laws of modern science eventually meet their boundaries and bow in submission. Data and logic can be undeniable, but the moment you cross the threshold of the Singhadwar and look into those abstract, massive, unblinking, circular eyes of the Daru Brahma, every equation of the human intellect simply fades away. In that space, there are no scientists, there are no skeptics, there is only a living, breathing, pulsating empire of the infinite devotion. Perhaps our ancient seers and Vedic masters intentionally wrapped these advanced sciences in the sacred shroud of mystery. They understood that truths too complex for the ordinary rational mind to process can only be preserved across millennia through the unyielding vessels of faith and tradition. That is why the incomplete chisel of the divine architect, Sri Vishwakarma, leaves us with the ultimate realization that to perceive the divine, we do not require physical hands, feet, or sight. We require nothing but a pure, surrendered heart. The grand flag flying against the wind stands as an eternal reminder that even when the entire current of the world forces itself against us, we must remain immovably anchored to our core. And that vanishing shadow whispers a profound truth that no matter how massive our existence becomes in this physical universe, our ego must eventually dissolve into absolute nothingness. The grand chariot festival of Shri Jagannath Puri is not merely the pulling of wooden structures through the streets. It is the monumental alignment of the human nervous system, plugging directly into the universe's ultimate cosmic power grid. So, are you ready to assimilate this supreme reality? Can you feel the subtle vibration of the Brahma Padartha pulsating within your own consciousness? To remain a part of this investigative journey, decoding the deepest and the most spine-chilling mysteries of history, faith, and modern science, subscribe to the channel right away. Like this video and share it with those who are seeking the truth. I am Sudesh Shukla, and we shall meet next again very soon. So stay connected with us for the next chapter. Until then, keep watching. Jai Jagannath.